Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. So we've got a nice one for you today, a nice upgrade in terms of the head unit. So in the car, I've currently got the OEM head unit. It's okay, does what it needs to in terms of radio and CDs, but times have changed. What I want to also do is get sat nav into this car. So the big thing for me is CarPlay. Now, because this is only a single DIN, unless you get like a motorized screen or one of those that look like they've stuck an iPad on the dashboard, there's not many options out there for the R53 currently. I've gone down the route previously of changing that center dial for like a Chinese head unit, and I was never happy with it in that Paceman. There was always flaws that really bugged me. Fundamentally it worked, but there were just the little bits that actually just ruined the experience for me. So I wanted to go a different route with this one. So we are going to be putting a double DIN head unit. So took a look online, and you can get from Orranje Performance a little double DIN surround that you can then fit a double DIN head unit in. It moves and relocates all of the controls for the heaters and the window switches, etc. Has a nice OEM finish to it. So I'm looking forward to getting that out the box, getting that into the car. Now, we'll cover in the video as well about the different head units you can fit in these. So if you get the big thick double DIN stack one, they don't tend to fit very well. Whereas the Sony ones, and that's why Orranje sort of recommend theirs for the Sony, they're a single DIN unit on the back, double DIN unit on the front. So they take up a lot less space in the dash, which is perfect because underneath where the single DIN is are the heater controls and the heater unit in the back, which is like a big white block. Other options, you have to cut all of that with the Orranje one. With the Sony head unit, you don't, which is a really big plus for me because I really want to cut as little as possible on the GP. So let's just work through now how to actually get the stereo out and swap the unit in. If you look at the interior of the first gen, there's nowhere for a double DIN to go. You can't replace this unit. Well, you can, but the cheap Chinese ones are not great. This one, there's only space down here for a single DIN head unit. So what we're looking to do is actually remove that. Now, Orranje Performance, you can see here, that's the back of it. But they do basically a double DIN head unit that works with the Sony head units. So what that does, that goes in place just there, and it allows us to lower these controls down. So I'm going to do this video in a couple of stages. First of all, we're going to remove the stock head unit and show you how to do that. Then we'll show you how to fit that, and I'll also talk you through the best types of head units to work with these, because you have got a lack of space behind there because it's not designed for a double DIN. So I'll talk you through that because you can't fit every double DIN on the market into here. Okay, so you can see to get this stereo out, these need to come up. So one of the easiest things to do is just remove this little sort of unit here. It gives us plenty of room to play with. So we'll show you how to get that out, and that helps to remove these. Okay, so to remove this, first of all, pull up on that so you can get that out of the way. And then you can try and put some plastic trim under this controller, but what I do, you put my fingers up and underneath, or down and underneath, and push up from the back side. So we've got that out the way. Now there's a lot of wiring going to this, but all it is, clips holding it in. Okay, so if you just flip over, you can see little push pins on these clips. Push those in and plug those. Same with the little white one. And then this center one. Is there any push pins? This little white one, I don't think there is. Let's have a look, flip it from the other side. Doesn't look like there's any pins. I think these just pull out. They're just very stiff. There's nothing on that side. There's nothing. So worst case, if you can't pull them out, grab a pair of pliers. It lets you get a bit more grip. If you get a pair of pliers, you can sometimes get just a bit more grip on it than using your fingers. It's that black one. Just again, flip it over, and I like to just double check before I yank on it. But no, nothing. So we should be able to grip that and pull that out. That gets that out of the way. Next, we've got screws in here. Now these cars are all getting old and have been apart many times. So I've got little posi screws in there. You may have some Torx head screws. And all they are, they're literally in these two little circles here. There's a little screw right at the bottom of them. You just undo that. One. And that's the second one coming undone. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so we've done the 2 screws in there. Next, in here, there's 2 silver screws. You can see just one there. There's one the opposite side. You just need to remove those. It just gives you a bit more room with these down tubes, especially when we're taking these out. And just make sure you put all these screws to one side and they're nice and safe. Let's move the wire in, and there is another one just here. So this is going to be quite a long video today because there's going to be a lot of steps. But yeah, the best, just make sure you don't drop those screws anywhere inside. Okay, so that's that screw out. Okay, so you can see now we've got all those screws out. We've got lots of play in this. This just helps to get these down tubes out. Okay, so now we've got that out. We've got 2 screws here. Now I've already started to take these out just for the help of the video. We need to get those undone. So it's a Torx bit. I'll double check, but it's either T30 or T40. So that's one out. So let's look at the screw. And it's a T30. They just look like this. Keep those to one side. Set the next one down out. Now, if you've got a glove box, it may be in the way. You can open that up. I've only removed it because I'm doing a load of wiring behind there. You don't have to remove it to do this job. 1, 2. So that should be the 4 screws. Now, again, there may be on your car plastic panel. You can pull that down to get some extra space in. Mine, because it's a GP, it has this tray instead, so you get more room. Now, depending on your car, you may need to lift this out. There's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to remove the dash. Mine are loose anyway, and you can sort of pull them down and away. And because we've got this all loose now, we should be able to maneuver this. So if I pull this back, there you go, we should be able to pull the down tubes out. And you actually push them from the bottom. They can't pull out from the top. You have to push them down and out like that. So again, we'll just show you, as I said, you can't put up and out. You've got to go down and out through the bottom. That just gives you, and that's why you add this loose, so you get this extra control. So the whole point of what we're doing now is to be able to bring this down so you get that extra room for the doubled in head unit. Okay, so there are 4 screws, 2 here and 2 here. So I'm just using a T20 to remove those. So we just undo that. Now I've removed the other 3 just because it's boring for you to watch me undo screws. But again, there's 2 there, 2 there. And that holds the head unit in. So let's pull that out. There shouldn't be many connectors on the back. It should literally be this aerial one. That if you want to reuse the OEM aerial, then you'll need a little converter cable if you're putting an aftermarket head unit in. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky with the clips, so I like to have a screwdriver on hand just to push that in, be able to pull that off. And then let me see if I can twist this head unit around without scratching anything. So if you see here, the block, it has a little handle here, and all you do is lift and push that sort of down, and eventually what that will do is come out. So that's nice and easy. So that's the back of the stock head unit. There is literally just that one block and the aerial connector. Okay, so if you're installing a stock head unit and you just wanted to switch it because it was broken, you literally just reverse the steps we've just done and we are finished. Nothing else to do and your new stereo should work. Okay, so we've got that head unit out. We've got access to our wiring, you can see. So I'm actually going to be replacing this bit of the loom because the previous owner has done a lot of damage to it. So you can see it's all DIY'd and horrible. So, but I'm not going to show you in that video because that's purely down to my car and someone's damaged the wiring previously. But these are basically the 2 connections that you'll use to fit your aftermarket head unit. So we'll go into the wiring in a minute, but we need to do some stuff with this bit first to be able to introduce that. So I think it goes that way round. That would fit into there. So you can see all of this needs to drop down. So it will drop down a bit more into there. And it uses the OEM screw holes as well, which is really nice. It's got a nice finish to it, so you can literally just fit it. Because I have seen some cheaper sort of 3D printed ones that don't have a nice finish. This from Orranje is like an OEM finished piece. Okay, this is probably the scariest bit now, and it's going to be probably the only job I do on my GP where it's not reversible to a certain degree. Now it is, because you could put it back, but there's always going to be a cut part here. Because what you have to do, so I've put little white lines, you can see here, but there is like a natural angle on the dash. It doesn't come up well on camera, hence why I've drawn the line. But what you're basically going to be doing is cutting sort of down here and across here, and the same again. And what that does, that releases this whole unit to allow it to drop down. So this is definitely the scariest bit. I've got a multi-tool for me to be able to just go through and cut that. So again, from what I understand, you may be able to fix this with some brackets if you wanted to put it back to stock at some point, but I can't guarantee that because I never put one back to stock after doing this. It's the first time I've actually installed a double DIN in an R53, but you're along for the journey. You're going to see me cut. And this hopefully should be the only cut I'd have to do on my GP, because I did sort of say I didn't really want to cut into anything and everything were reversible. So this will be that one stressful job. Okay, so it's going to get a bit noisy. Let's go for the cut. Just make sure all your wiring's out the way. There's nothing that you can catch. Okay, and then coming from the side. Nearly through. So there is just on this side a tiny little bar you have to cut through as well. Okay, so that's that corner done. Now we go to the other side and cut the same thing. Now there is a heater wire here, so I'm going to hold it out the way with one hand. Okay, you can see that's now cut. Okay, so I've just come into the passenger footwell just so you can see it's not on the Orranje instructions. So there is a little join in the plastic, a tiny little one just here. So this is where we were just cutting further up, just up here. But actually, it's this little join here. So if we get the Dremel in, cut that, you can see now it's loose. So I've got to just do the same on the other side, but you'll see it's exactly the same as this. We'd cut that off on both sides. Right, so we've just done those two extra cuts, and you can see now this is hanging all the way down, which is much better because it'll be, let's say, mounted down here maybe. Let's see how low it'll actually drop. Okay, so we've put that on. That's going to be mounted, once screwed in place, down there. So I'm just intrigued. Can I actually access my cigarette lighter still? If I try and manoeuvre this, put it in place a little bit better. Should be able to get a wire still under there, potentially. Okay, one of the things I'm just doing is mock fitting this now, just so I can work out what's going on. Now, you guys might not have the same issue I have, but it's because I'm being very specific about how I want mine set up. But I'm going to have my double DIN up here, obviously these two. Now, down here, you've obviously got the cigarette lighter. Now, I've got one of these ports to run a wireless charger, MagSafe charger. I'm thinking I want to relocate this up into the glove box area. The reason why I say that is I like to have a scan gauge fitted to my car, just so I can see the inlet temps, and that fits absolutely perfectly down there and would cover up this hole that's left by the cigarette lighter. So I'm quite tempted to double-sided tape this in place down here, hopefully. And I know it's not the easiest to view, but when it's lit up, it's better. And also, I'm only doing it just to keep an eye on inlet temps, etc. So it just gives me that extra bit of information. So when it's lit up, it should stand out when it's in orange down there. But obviously, you guys won't need to worry about that. Obviously, you can keep your cigarette lighter, and I think you'd have it. But I think while everything's apart, I'm going to just relocate mine into the glove box area. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about was the head unit choice. So you can see we've got a nice big screen there on the Sony head unit, but a thin back. So most double DIN units are twice the height, so I'll put a photo of the screen of the one I did plan to fit. But actually, with the lack of room you've got because of this white heater module, but something like this will just help it fit nicely. If you go on Orrange's website, they actually list the head units that their surround will fit. So they recommend these Sony ones because they have that single DIN thin back, even though the screen's a double DIN unit. So that's something just to be aware of. And then you need all the right cables to go with this as well, which I can share a bit of detail on those as we put them in. Okay, so when we look at the cage, obviously that's the top half, it says up. So if you look at the back, this clashes with the white controls for the heater in the back when you see the back of the dash. So we need to cut this section out that I've just marked here. So cut from there all the way up to there, and then just do the exact same on this side. So it's on the lower half of the grill. You're cutting that out, and that's just to stop it clashing with the dash and give you as much room as possible to make sure it works. Okay, and you can see there, we've just cut that and I've rounded the edges off so it's a little bit neater. You're never going to see it, but again, just cut that on both sides. Okay, so let's give you a little bit of an overview of what you need to fit the double DIN, other than you've seen the orange surround. So you've got the head unit itself, and I've taught you through that. With that comes this cable. This allows you to connect it to the car, but to make this work, you've got to buy one of these cables over here. Now, I've bought a specific one. Actually, this was already fitted in the car, but you can get these on eBay or any car audio shop. I'll see if I can put a link in the description. And what this does, this plugs into, so this end here plugs into the back of the stereo wiring, because that's the wiring that comes with the stereo. Then this goes into the big block in the car, so it joins it to the car's wiring, so we know that works. Then this little Connect 2 unit here, we see it's got key 1, key 2, etc. This is to allow the steering wheel controls to work. So if you don't have steering wheel controls, you don't need this bit, but you have to do different cuts on whether it's these wires and joins on these wires. There's a little diagram that I'll put up when I'm doing that. I'll try and record that as well to show you what I did for my particular car. The last cable you'll need is an aerial converter. So this one here, you can see we've got a little cable there for the aerial. Now, the only thing that's not here is if you have a DAB head unit, you have a separate aerial that you have to fit into the car. Now, in mine, you can see that's already installed on the windscreen. So my car had an aftermarket head unit before, so I'm going to reuse that to go into my new head unit. But just to let you know, in case I talk about connecting that, that's already in the car. And this cable that's coming off the head unit is just a USB. But that's it. That's everything. Okay, so the next step is to get your head unit. You wouldn't normally do this. You'd normally install the cage in the car and then slot the stereo in. But with this orange unit, what they say, so if you put the head unit face down, is that you slot the cage over the top first. Let me just move some of the cables. Trying to do this one-handed isn't the easiest for the video, but you can see we slot that over. Oop. There we go. And it tells you which is top and bottom. So slot that over, and that actually locks in place. So these little clips here actually lock the head unit in place. So that's now on and in. And that's because you actually slide the orange head unit bracket onto this when we're in the car. So we might as well do that step while we're out the car. So we've got that. let's then go and look at the wiring next. Okay, so I'm sure this is the bit where everyone panics because of the amount of wiring that's hanging about, but it's not that scary. So one of the things I forgot to mention was the microphone cable. So that's already ran under the dash and up on my car. So that's an aftermarket one. So we'll put that to one side. The DAB aerial I was talking about, that's there. Then this is the main block. So this is one I was saying has been DIY botched by someone at some point in my car. So we're going to get that replaced. We're actually going to cut this and replace this. But you shouldn't need to do any of that. It's only because someone's DIY botched a lot of this. Then you've got the aerial. So this is the OEM aerial cable. So that's where we got the adapter. So we can stick that one in first. And all we do, clip that in place. And that will go back into the new head unit. Okay, next we've got this big block. And there's only one way that can fit on. And all you do, make sure the handles line away as much as possible. You can see that, so it's going at that angle. We then slot this one over the top, and then you lock it in place using that handle. So again, that should be fine. That will then go into your head unit's wiring, so the Sony specific wiring that connects to. Then I said about the Connect 2 box with the steering wheel controls. So I need to go and get the little instructions, work out which ones I need to snip, etc. Okay, don't do that. Let's bring the head unit in. This is where we're just going to have to be careful with all the wiring we've got floating around, but aerial cable should go in. Adapter. Okay, so we've got, this is why space is at a premium behind there. We've got the main wiring harness in, now connected up. Then with our steering wheel controls, put that into the remote control using the jack for the Sony. That's specific to your car and the stereo that you've got with that step. We've got that ready and in. Anything else? We don't have DAB, I don't think, on this head unit, which is fine. Oh, is that? Oh, that's DAB there. Right, so where's that DAB? So we can connect those two together. So it does have DAB, which is good. Okay, that's together. Aftermarket. So what you want to do, turn the power on the car now and test your head unit actually works. You can see that's powering up. Okay, close. Put DAB. Now I'm in the garage, so that DAB may not work. Let me plug my phone in. I'll have to turn music off so I don't get copyrighted. But let's. Well, I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm recording on it. But you can hear it's working. So that's what you're basically doing at this point. It's just testing that anything that you've plugged in actually works. So you can see. There you go. We'll turn the sound off so I don't get copyrighted. But you can see that's working. That's the bit you want to test to make sure everything's working. Then what you've got to do is locate the head unit in place. Now we've got all this extra wiring. This is the thing for me that is very tight when it comes to getting this all in. But what you will be doing is locating the head unit about there. But again, we need to make sure this wiring's all out the way. So I'm going to just go and tuck all this in and try and find some space, whether it's up here in the corner, so we can hide it all away. But I just need to move the camera to do that. Right, okay, so it may be easy if you do remove your glove box, because I was able to sort of tidy or pull some of this wiring through just to give me plenty of space. But you can see that now goes and the cage sits all the way back. It sits quite snugly in there, which is a good sign. One of the things we're going to need to do next is get our fascia. And our fascia goes that way around. And then should screw in using the original screws that we removed. Let's grab hold of one of those. Just put that in up there. So you're only doing the top screws to start with. Okay, let's get our screwdriver, do those up. So get that in place first so we know that everything's secure. Okay. Okay, now that's all in place, what we need to do is tuck this behind. It's a bit fiddly because it's quite tight. But you want to get these white knots into the bigger hole on this unit. So I might need to drop my chair back a bit, give me a bit more room. Might fit the camera up. Let's put that back there a second. And just take a look. See what we're playing with in terms of space and what's colliding with what. So that side's getting close. Side, what's hitting? There you go, and it's quite tight. If you push that and use your thumb, I reckon when we put the screw in, the screw will pull that into place. So what Orranje says is to use your thumb to just push that onto there. Let's get that lower screw in and see how we get on. Yeah, that's got in nicely now and pulled that together. So this is already feeling nice and solid. I'm very impressed with this unit from Orranje. Just one thing to mention as well. I do keep mentioning Orranje, but it's purely because they're the people that make this bracket. So I have paid for anything. There's no free promotion or sponsorship in terms of this. It's purely, obviously, my history with the company and the fact a lot of their options of things that they make are just the best ones on the market. So I go through all them. There we go. And you can see that white little nodule there is just pulled all the way forward. So at this point, what you want to do is power the car back on. Check the stereo's working. So turn the volume off so we don't get demonetized. Then we want to make sure our vents and every controllers are working. So yeah, that's adjusting everything nicely. Okay, and that should be controlling yet, taking it up onto the dash, bringing it forward. Window controls are working. Just want to make sure we haven't broken anything. Door locks work, etc. So let's turn that off so that's not blowing into it. So we've tested everything's now working. You can see this unit is a lot lower than what it was before. Okay, so what I've done is I've just put the top screw into this, so at least I know what height I've got to get past. So I'm thinking I roughly have to cut down to here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off this point, cut away, so I've just done a little line with my chronograph pen there, cut that section away, and then just trial fit it again, and just keep going till I've cut enough away. And again, it's just trial and error, so if I show you with the torch, you can see we're nearly there. It's just touching at that bottom bit that's not holding it in. So I've got a little mark on there, and I'm just going to go and cut and Dremel off. So ultimately, you want that line because these two pillars are going to pull all this in and be tight. So that at the moment can't pull in, so there's a gap down there still. Okay, so if you just take a look at the down tube, so you can see here this is one I've trimmed. I'm actually going to be trimming these in Alcantara, but you could just work and get them a little bit neater if you wanted to, but you're not going to see any of these cut edges because this is the front edge that you see, not this bit. But you can see you've got to cut quite a chunk out. So if we put them next to each other and use this sort of angle here as a reference point, I mean, you can see there between 50 and 70 mil you need to cut off to be able to get that to work. So I'm going to match this one up to this one now and then try them on the car. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just run the Dremel along this, just tidy this up. Right, so hopefully we bring these two in together, they're now cut very similar. So let's go and try them in the car. Okay, so what we'll do, chuck both of those into place. Okay, and that's fitting really nice. Obviously we've got to screw them in place, but this is all looking very OEM. I'm really impressed with that. So we need to put the screws in, but no, well impressed with that. I think what I'm probably going to do with mine is just trim them in Alcantara, because I'm having an Alcantara steering wheel done to match the interior of the car. Let's try screw that side in. So what I'll need to do is just get a little right angle screwdriver, I think, but let's do it by hand by now. And for now. And then we can see that's looking much tidier. So I think what I'm going to do is cover these. They need painting anyway. I'm going to cover those, but that looks much better. And the fact that we've now got this double din head unit is amazing. So what I'm going to do, if I can find it, no, is I'm going to put my scan gauge down here, so that will actually cover this hole, but you could put a bung or something over if you wanted to. So one of the things I have forgot to put back in, so I'll unscrew the down tubes, is this bit. Okay, so we're on to the final run now. So we've got our head unit working. I obviously relocated my cigarette lighter, so I've put the wires up through the back of here. The next thing we've got to do is get this in. So that still goes in exactly the same place that it did before. There's no change there. Okay, so that's under there. Okay, so you can get to this wiring all through here. So all you've got to do line that up, and that's in. Now the good thing is, with these spare ones I had, they had a little lip on the OEM ones, not OEM ones, so the original ones from the GP. So I don't know whether this is a pre-facelift part that doesn't have this, but if you could always look for spares, because what it allows you to do is just slot those in without having to take this out to drop them out the bottom. So that just makes that job a lot easier. But that's now all in place. So what we've got to do now is put the screws in, so I'll do a bit of a time lapse. Okay, so I just wanted to finish off by showing you the final result. So obviously ignore the down tubes, because those are going to be covered in Alcantara to match. I just haven't had time yet. But you can see, zoom all the way out, it's got a nice OEM finish, so it matches the finish on these up here and this down here. So we have full Apple CarPlay, so whether it's maps, etc. So nice and reactive. So very impressed with the fit and finish, and obviously the view from the driver's seat will give you a good view for where you're trying to follow maps, etc. So fully recommend this product from Orranje. Again, no endorsements in terms of sponsorship, etc. All paid for, but super happy with it, and it's the best fit and finish I've seen from one. And literally no prep work, no cutting in terms of the surround, fitted straight on, no 3D printing here. So if you found today's video useful, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get alerts every time we upload content to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.